Hello one and all, welcome to our second English online lesson. Well, today we're going to deal with a very popular lesson, okay? A use which is very useful, which is very important in English and very vital, which is the passive form, okay? Now we're going to learn how to transform an active sentence into a passive sentence. Okay? Well, number one, the active form. Let's start with the active form. Structure. Look, the structure is very simple. Now, you will have the subject plus base form, or let's say the verb. You should conjugate in the tense, in the asked tense. Verb plus object. Okay? Remember, the tense hasn't been specified here because we can have any tense in this sentence, okay? In the active form. Examples, let's say, people like movies. Okay? This is an active sentence. Okay? Another example, my mom cooks good meals on Sundays. Okay? This also is an active sentence. Another example, let's change the tense because this is a simple present, cooks, S, right? The teacher had expelled them. The teacher had expelled them. All right. Now we have a simple present here, but the tense has changed here because we have a past perfect. So the tense doesn't matter, right? All that we need to know is how to transform an active sentence into a passive sentence. Okay, and then that's what we're going to learn here. Number two, passive form. Okay, so now we will learn about the transformation. It's very simple and easy. Just focus and try to understand. Okay. Example: we'll take the same sentences. People. Sentence number one: people like movies. Movies are liked by people. Okay? We'll explain the process afterwards. Sentence number two, my mom cooks good meals on Sundays. Let's say good meals are cooked on Sundays by my mom, or by my mother, by my mom. Okay? The teacher had expelled them. Let's say they had been expelled by the teacher. Okay? Now let's explain our transformation, which is the structure. Look, in these sentences, subjects, will take the places of objects, meaning in the active form and the passive form, what was the subject in the active form will become the object in the passive form, and vice versa, What was the object in the, let's say, in the active form will become the subject in the active form, in the passive form, We had movies as an object in the active form, and in the passive form, movies will become the subject, right? It's very simple and easy. Subject plus to be plus past participle, meaning in all cases in the passive form, the subject will become the object and the object would become the subject. But there is one thing you need to understand, you need to focus on. In the passive form, we always use the past participle and the auxiliary to be. The past participle will be conjugated in the tense of the verb in the initial sentence, and then the verb will be in its base form. That's what we have here. Look, like was the verb, okay? It was used alone, simply, in the active sentence. In the passive sentence, we used the auxiliary to be, which we conjugated in the tense of the verb of the passive sentence, in the passive sentence, which is a simple present. To be with the third person plural will become are in the simple present, right? And like will be put in its past participle, liked, because it's an ordinary verb. It's a regular verb, it's not an irregular verb, so we just add ed. My mom cooks good meals on Sundays. Cooks was the verb in the initial sentence, and here we use are. Remember, I told you a while ago that we will always use the auxiliary to be, and the good meals is plural. Okay, good meals is plural, so are in the to be in the simple present with the third person plural will become are. We will have are. Now, cook. The past participle of the verb to cook is cooked, ed, because it's a regular verb. Now, sentence number 3, the teacher had expelled them. We have a past perfect here. Now, so it means that the auxiliary to be will be conjugated in the past perfect too. Okay? Now, expel was the verb. We have a past participle. We will still have a past participle here. Remember, I told you, we will always have a past participle in the passive form. So, what you need to know is the tense does not change. No way. There is no way that the tense can change. The tense will never change. All you need to know is the auxiliary to be will be conjugated in the tense of the verb of the initial sentence, and then the verb will be put in its past participle. So, no change of tense. Tenses never change. All right. Now, okay, to understand better, we'll try to have all the structures in all applicable tenses in the passive form. What you need to know is all tenses are not applicable in the passive form. In English, some tenses cannot be used with the passive form. Okay, that's what we're going to see in the table here. Here we go. Tenses. Simple present. Now, let's try to write here the structure of the simple present in the passive form. Okay? The structure of the simple present in the passive form is okay? Because we said that we always use, in the passive form, we always use the past, let's say the auxiliary to be, which will be conjugated in the tense of the verb of the initial sentence, and then we will use the past participle. Now, to be in the simple present, it's either am or is or are plus past participle. You see? Okay? All right. After the simple present, we can have, for example, the present progressive. The present progressive. Now, the structure of the present progressive in the passive form. Okay? Remember, these are structures of tenses in the passive form, not in the active form. Okay? Let's be clear. Now, are, is, or are plus being plus past participle. Okay? All right. Another tense. Let's try the simple past. Now, the structure of the simple past in the passive form is either was or were plus past participle. Okay? Another tense, past progressive. Past progressive. The structure of the past progressive in the passive form is either was or were plus being plus past participle. Okay? Let's try another tense. Past perfect. The structure of the past perfect in the passive form had been plus past participle. Okay? Right. We had simple present, present progressive, simple past, past progressive, past perfect, but we will skip the past perfect progressive because the past perfect progressive is not applicable in the passive form. We cannot use the past perfect progressive talking about the past, let's say the passive form. So we will jump to the future with will. Let's say future with will. In the passive form, the structure of the future with will is will be plus past participle. Okay, will be plus past participle. After the simple future with will, we should normally have the future progressive. But I'm sorry, the future progressive is neither used for the, let's say, passive form. So we will skip it and then move to the future perfect. Future perfect. The structure of the future perfect in the passive form is will have been plus past participle. Okay? All right. And then so on and so on and so forth. Okay? The most important thing you should bear in mind is the perfect progressive tenses are not used in the passive form, plus the future progressive. So the future progressive and the perfect progressive tenses are not used in the passive form. This you should understand, okay? But we can still have the passive form with modal verbs. For example, let's say modal verbs here. Modal verbs, simple modal verbs. Example, we can have should or can or would, etc. Okay, plus be plus past participle. Okay. All right. So approximately these are the 10. I mean, of course, we can have when we don't have no more room for other tenses, but we can still have, let's say, the future will be going to, and so on and so forth. Just bear in mind that the future progressive and the perfect progressive tenses are not used in the passive form. Okay? Now, let's see into another part of the lesson, which is about double object subject. Okay? Now, it means that in the passive form, meaning from an active sentence, we can have two passive sentences. From one active sentence, we can get two passive sentences. Okay? Example. Examples. Now, if I say, my father offered me a present. My father offered me a present. Mon père m'a fait un cadeau. Ou bien m'a offert un cadeau. Now, a double object subject means a subject which has two objects. And that's the case in this sentence. Look, me is an object. A present is also an object, which means that we will be having two passive sentences. We can have two passive sentences from this one sentence. Now, let's try to get a passive sentence from me. So, me is an object personal pronoun. So, which means that if we need to turn this sentence into the passive form, me will become a subject. We will use the subject personal pronoun of me, which is I. Okay? What tense is it? This is the simple past. Remember, I told you that in the passive form, we will use let's say the auxiliary to be, that we will conjugate in the tense of the verb in the initial sentence, and we have a simple past, which means that we will need to conjugate to be in the simple past. Now with I, we will have I was. Okay? Plus past participle, the past participle of offer is offered, so no change. I was offered a present. Okay? Now, in this sentence, we don't have to necessarily put the agent object. If we like, we can elude the agent object, meaning by my father is optional. It's mandatory, it's not compulsory, meaning it's not obligatory. Okay? Right. Another sentence, now this time from a present. A present was offered to me, okay, by my father. I put by my father in parentheses because here the agent object is not compulsory. Okay? This is what they call the double object subject. We can have another example. Let's say my French teacher gave us good advice. Le prof ou la prof de français nous a prodigué de bons conseils. Right. Us and good advice are our objects. Now, if us should be transformed into a subject, will we still have us? No, because us is an object personal pronoun. And for it to be a subject, we will use the subject personal pronoun, which is we. Okay? And give is in the simple past. So, the auxiliary to be will also be used in the simple past. We were, okay, to be. So we were given, past participle. The past participle of the verb to give is given. Gave is a simple past. We were given good advice. We were given good advice by the French teacher. By the French teacher. Okay? We can still have another sentence with good advice. Good advice. Okay? Were given. Some of you will certainly wonder why we have were here. And some of you will think that this is a singular. But no, it's not singular. This is plural. Remember, we learned in class that advice is always used in the plural form. So, advice is always in the plural form. Some advice, a piece of advice, but advice is plural. So we say were. Good advice were given to us. Okay? By the French teacher. Okay? Some advice or good advice were given to us by the French teacher. So, guys, this is what they call the double object subject sentence. Okay? If you have a double object, if you have a double object sentence, it means that we can have two passive sentences from that sentence. Now, after the third part, let's deal with the fourth part of our lesson, which is about impersonal passive. Impersonal passive. Okay? Examples. Let's give examples of impersonal passives. Inactive sentences first. People believe that she is dead. Okay? Another example. They think that she is rich. Okay? People thought, change the tense, thought that the prisoner escaped. People assumed that the president was murdered. Now, let me explain to you a little bit what impersonal passive means. Okay? Impersonal passive, when we talk about impersonal passive, it means that we don't know who the speech is from, meaning we don't know who the sentence is from. People is, okay, there is no precision, okay? There's no precision, so we don't know who it is about. And the most usual sentences are, believe, think, assume, declare, okay? Let's say whisper, etc. and so on and so forth, okay? So these are the mostly used sentences. Now, to turn this sentence into the passive form, this is the way we proceed. People, subject, believe, verb, that she is dead. What we notice here is we have two verbs and two subjects. Subject number one, verb number one, subject number two, and verb number two. Okay? Now, in the passive form, we will have she is thought to be dead. Let me explain myself. Look, she has become the subject, all right? And as I told you, in the passive form, we always use, this is not the verb we have transferred here, no. Remember what I told you. In the passive form, we always have the past participle, not the past participle here, this is not the past participle, but the auxiliary to be, which is conjugated in the tense of the verb in the initial sentence, so we keep the same principle. So to be in the simple present with she is, and then believe, I'm sorry, it's not thought, but believe. Okay, the verb is to believe. So she is believed to be dead. So believe, the past participle of the verb to believe is believed. She is believed. Auxiliary to be, simple present. So past participle. Don't forget that. Now, this verb is in the simple present, which is auxiliary to be. Now the rule is, if the verb is in the simple present, okay, with the auxiliary to be, so we will use the infinitive form. And the infinitive form of the verb to be is this, auxiliary to be, dead. Understand that? They think that she is rich. Same principle. We are going to apply the same principle. She, auxiliary to be, is, because this is the simple present. Now, the past participle of the verb to think is thought. She is thought. Solved, problem solved here. We still have a simple present. And the rule is, if we have the simple present, we will use the infinitive of the verb. And the infinitive of the verb is to be. To be rich. This is the rule. Okay? Don't worry. You will see it on the paper. Okay? In the lesson. People thought this time the tense has changed. That the prisoner escaped. Okay? We have past tenses. Now, in the passive form, let's say the prisoner is, no, not is, but this is a simple past, so was, auxiliary to be, was thought. Okay? Now look, it's very important. This time, we don't have a simple present, but a simple past, meaning a past tense, which means that the rule, the structure will change. And then we're going to have, were thought to have escaped. Which means we are going to have another rule, meaning another structure. Now, this, there is no problem here. We just apply the tense, the rule, because the auxiliary to be will be conjugated in the tense of the verb in the sentence, and so on and so forth, and then we will have the past participle. But here, if the second verb in the initial sentence is in the simple past, we will use to have plus past participle of the verb in the passive form. Okay? You will see the rule in the lesson. Don't worry about that. Okay? Now, next, people assume that the president was murdered. So, the president, okay, assumed is in the simple past, so to be. So we'll have was, assumed. Now, here we also have a simple past, so let's apply the rule. To have been murdered. Okay? Now, this is what they call the impersonal passive. Alright? The most used way. But there is still another way of the impersonal passive, which is simpler. Now, instead of having she is believed to be dead, we can only say it's believed that she is dead. Okay? This also is a passive form, but less common than this one. Okay? Here also, we can have the same principle. It's thought that she is, it's thought that she is rich. Okay? The prisoner. Okay? So, same principle here. The prisoner was thought to have escaped. Now, if we want to use a simpler way, we can just say it's, or it was. It was thought that the prisoner escaped. Okay? escaped. As I told you, this is less common than this one. The president was assumed to have been murdered. It was assumed that the president was murdered. Okay? So now this is the impersonal passive. Okay? Now if you are allowed in the test to use this one, it's okay. But what I advise you is to use this one because this is the most common one. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, this is what the passive form, what the lesson concerning the passive form is all about. Okay? Hoping to see you soon. I thank you very much.